Hey guys, Carter Wetzel here, lead researcher of Shea Protocol and Silk, and today we're going to be talking about Silk distribution, the state of Silk, and our plans to make Silk the ultimate omni-chain stablecoin. And I kind of want to lay out the case for what it would mean to win. But let's start with the story of Silk. It starts with the dollar. The dollar has inflated massively since the mid-1920s. You can see that a dollar then, how far it would go, the purchasing power it had back then is about the same as an $18 to $20 bill today. And this has only continued to accelerate in 2021, 2022, 2023. The entire incentives of the fiat economy is a race to outpace the printing of money. Now, Bitcoin has performed really well in these conditions. Gold has performed really well in these conditions. But despite the amazing properties of Bitcoin and gold, fiat currencies are still used for everyday payments. They're still used for taxes, and they're still used for a lot of our transacting in everyday life. And so they end up having less volatility than something like Bitcoin and gold that can have these massive price swings on a daily basis. But then the downsides of actually holding fiat is they bleed value, as this chart so clearly outlines over here. Now, there is a solution to this. Silk is the ultimate inflation hedge. It's tracking Bitcoin, gold, the US dollar, yen, the euro, and the Canadian dollar. And combining all these together into one basket, the data is now in. We're over 2 years into the journey of Silk, and we have outperformed the dollar by well over 20%. We have outperformed your classic dollar peg stablecoin that's earning 5-6% yield. Because Silk is designed for the simple truth that they are going to continue to print money. And as long as they're going to continue to print money, you need a stable safe haven. And Bitcoin, in my opinion, is too volatile of a safe haven, but something like Silk is this perfect mesh of all these different currencies and commodities all blended into one. And it has worked so well. And you can buy it today. You can hold one of the best performing financial assets of the 21st century. And what's been crazy about this journey of Silk is that stable coins are hard. IST is being wound down. USK collapsed. UST collapsed. CMST collapsed. All of this is just in Cosmos. And truthfully, only Silk has stood the test of time these last 2 years. It's the only stablecoin that has been able to track its floating peg and actually deliver on its promise in a day and age where darn near every governance token has gone to zero. Silk has maintained its promise. It's something that is increasingly becoming trusted because it just works. You don't have to do some crazy portfolio management thing. All you have to do is buy it and hold it. And there's even yield opportunities on Silk. You can stake it, you can liquidity provide it, you can earn from liquidations, you can lend it out. So while all you need to do is hold it to gain the benefits compared to USDC, you can go above and beyond and earn yield in a bunch of different ways. And the crazy part is the value of that yield is actually meaningful because inflation resistance is baked into it from day one. Now, I want to talk about our Omnichain Alignment distribution strategy, because despite Silk being this incredibly powerful asset, we have to ask the question, why has adoption been limited? If you have an asset that outperforms the dollar by over 20% over the course of 2 years, why are more people not buying these things? And so we sat down, we looked at the problems, and we came up with 5 things. The first one is that liquidity only exists on Secret Network. So if you're an Ethereum user, a Solana user, even a Cosmos user, you can't really find Silk anywhere but Secret Network. There's a lack of education about Silk, I think because of all of these stablecoins having crashed. It's harder for people to to put their trust into silk, which means we need to work even harder on the education around it. There is a lack of alignment, which we'll talk about in this presentation. How do you make other communities other than shade holders passionate and excited to grow silk? Another one is the Shade app. It makes the silk story confusing. If you go to the Shade app, there's dozens and dozens of things you can do. And if you've heard about silk and you go to the app, it's difficult to find that story and build that story. And then onboarding buyers into Secret is hard. You have to deal with all the privacy. And even though we've worked really, really hard to make that experience as seamless as possible, you still need Secret as gas. There's still a couple extra clicks. And a lot of people don't even want to mess with having privacy. Some people are nervous about having privacy, even though it's this amazing attribute. So what is our solution? Our solution is this. In 2025, in Q2 and Q3, we're going to be expanding liquidity throughout all of Cosmos. It is time for Silk to enter into the big stage. It has 2 years of data behind it. So we are going to be bringing Silk to Neutron. We're going to bring Silk to the Cosmos Hub. We're going to bring Silk to Osmosis. And we're going to do it through an Omnichain Silk app. One app, one story, one function. Make it as easy as possible for anyone, anywhere in crypto to buy Silk. We do this with a skip.go integration, plugging directly into these new liquidity venues that we're bringing Silk to. No privacy involved, no privacy required, no extra clicks. It'll be the easiest it's ever been to purchase an inflation-resistant hedge that has proved itself for over 2 years. And the key to all of this, beyond a Silk dedicated app and beyond bringing liquidity everywhere, is how do we align the economics of Silk adoption on a per-chain basis? How do we get Neutron people even aware of the outperformance of Silk against the dollar? You need the distribution centers, the Neutron foundations of the world, the Neutron marketing team, the Osmosis marketing team, the Cosmos Hub marketing team. You need them to tell the story of Silk because the underlying chain gains something distinct from Silk. And what we're bringing to every chain is the story of Silk buying the underlying chain's ecosystem token. So here's how it works. Every month, a snapshot is taken of these blockchains. And based on the amount of Silk in those ecosystems, we will take 50% of all revenue tied to those Silk holdings. And we will buy the underlying governance token and then pair it with Silk on those local liquidity venues. Basically, when you buy Silk, you don't pay any interest. But every Silk in circulation was minted out by someone else via over-collateralization. I put $150 of Bitcoin down, and I mint out $50 worth of Silk. I can take a loan out against my crypto collateral in the form of Silk, permissionlessly and with privacy. But in order to mint that Silk out, there is a long-term interest cost to this borrowing. This is how Shade Protocol and Silk ultimately makes money. And why is there an interest payment? You need an interest payment in order to maintain the peg. Whenever Silk goes under peg, you need to give people motivation to buy the Silk at a discount. Why would they do that? Because then they can pay back their interest owed and their debt at a discount. But if there's no interest charge, there's no incentive really for people to be in a rush to act on these market dislocations. And so the profitability model of Silk is you want as many debt buyers as possible. You want as many people to buy and hold Silk. And so we'll give an example here. Like let's say on Neutron. If there is, actually I've noticed this. I'm going to fix this right here. We can do this live. Never do math online, folks. You'll always do something wrong. Okay. I did 5% of $5 million wrong. So let's say we take the monthly snapshot of Neutron and there's $5 million of Silk on Neutron. we know that Shade Protocol is generating 5% interest on all that silk, and that would be $250,000 of fees earned annually. And what we would do with this alignment distribution strategy is we would take 50% of all those fees accrued to all of that silk, and we will purchase Neutron tokens with it. And then with the other 50% of the fees accrued, we will match it with that Neutron. So by the end of the year, there would be $250,000 of silk Neutron liquidity. And then the following year, we would just continue to grow and grow and grow. So by the end of year 2, you have $500,000 of liquidity. And then let's say the amount of silk on Neutron grows to 20 million. Then that pool is growing at an even faster rate. And so the Neutron token is becoming more liquid. It's becoming easier for people to use silk to buy Neutron. It's becoming easier for people to buy silk on Neutron as well. And using this model on every single chain, we give not only individual consumers a reason to buy and hold silk. That's all we're asking people to do. You're also giving ecosystems a reason to do this. Because if I'm Neutron and I can just market silk and help grow its adoption on Neutron, I am literally creating buy pressure on my governance token. We're essentially exporting the Terra Luna story. We're giving it to every single chain, but this time it's an over-collateralized stablecoin with sound economics behind it, with over 2 years of existence. And then how does Shade, the token, benefit from all of this? Shade still owns this balance sheet. So that $250,000 of Silk Neutron liquidity, and eventually call it $2-3 million of Silk Neutron liquidity, we're earning trade fees on that liquidity position, and then those fees are routed back to Shade Protocol and can buy back Shade. And the more adoption of Silk throughout the interchain, ultimately, like the more arbitrage volume that's going to come back to the origination point of Silk, which is Secret Network. So we truly believe that this omni-chain methodology gives every ecosystem the reason to tell the Silk story. We're bringing the liquidity, we're bringing the incentives. All we're asking from ecosystems is tell our story, because the more you tell the story and the more you grow Silk, the more your token is going to be bought back, and the deeper the liquidity that's going to be on your chain. It is truly a win-win for everyone. And right now with USDC and the Cosmos, we're paying a lot of money to essentially get more people to have access to buying USDC. And then guess who runs off with all that revenue? Circle and Coinbase does. They're not reinvesting the proceeds from all of that, for all that stablecoin adoption in Cosmos back into Cosmos. They're pocketing it themselves. Versus with Silk, we take the revenue and we reinvest it into the ecosystem by providing a better and better liquidity profile, and by actually buying the ecosystem tokens that represents all these different participants and users that are buying and holding Silk. So this is the Silk distribution platform, and we're going to have an amazingly simple app where all you need to do is buy Silk and earn with it. It's going to be dumb simple, omni-chain, any chain from anywhere. Any user will be able to acquire Silk. And between this distribution program, a Silk-only app, a tried and true stablecoin that has outlasted many other stablecoins, and with unmatched and unparalleled performance, we believe that 2025 is going to be a massive year for Silk, where we truly enter into the broader interchain and put Silk and Shade Protocol on the map. This was Carter Wetzel. Thank you for listening to this video, and have a nice day.